Warren Gatland is back after his time with the Lions, and the build-up to the 2019 World Cup starts here. Well, in a manner of speaking, anyway. But the New Zealander's first squad of campaign will give us some idea about his thinking as he looks ahead to Japan in 2 years' time. Some players will be relieved to feature in the mix for the autumn tests. Others will be disappointed to miss out. Mark Orders assesses who could see failed to make the cut for the November games and explains the reasons why. It's the right policy, but it's not being done in the right way. Podcast Dan Evans crosses against Clermont Auvergne. Warren Gatland, Rob Howley and Neil Jenkins. Ed Evans scored 2 tries for the Ospreys against Clermont Auvergne at the Liberty the weekend before last. One of those scores saw him use footwork out wide that Shane Williams would have rubber stamped. There was another try-double against Saracens on Saturday evening. If the Wales selectors were not impressed by Evans in those games, they never will be. But the performances still seem unlikely to propel him into the test mix, not with Wales having Lee Halfpenny and Liam Williams as back options. The wait to add to those 2 caps Evans won in North America in the summer of 2009 is set to continue. Matthew Morgan, Image Hugh Evans Picture Agency. If Gatland wants a player who will give him impact off the bench, then the fast and skillful Morgan is his man. But Wallace coach will also be aware of the creases in the diminutive Cardiff Blues player's game, in particular his vulnerability in defence. The minuses are likely to be seen as potentially too costly, notwithstanding Morgan's exciting raw talent. Keelan Giles Ospreys speedster. Keelan Giles Image Hugh Evans Agency. Wales are looking for a wing to fill in for George North, who will miss the autumn tests because of injury. With Lee Halfpenny, Steph Evans, Hallam Amos and Liam Williams among their back 3 options, they are likely to search for a more powerful sort to offer the option of balance should it be required. Gillis promise is not in doubt, but at 5 feet 8 inches and 12 stone 1 pound he would hardly be a like-for-like replacement for the 6 feet 4 inches, 17 stone 2 pounds North. Also, he is still developing as a player. Patience may need to be his word. Phil Dolman. Leicester's Nick Malouf tackles Phil Dolman at Welford Road. The Exeter Chiefs player saw his Wales cap hopes cruelly dashed at the end of last season when he suffered an injury that ruled him out of the summer tour. The talented Dolman is back now, but so are Liam Williams and Lee Halfpenny. The 32-year-old's best chance of a cap is likely to have been and gone. Reen Williams, Cardiff Blues back. Reen Williams. This young lad is a talent who stood out for Wales under-20s and has flickered promisingly for Cardiff Blues. Is he ready for test rugby? Probably not. He needs to tighten up in defence, especially with seasoned campaigners such as Liam Williams and Lee Halfpenny for competition. His time may come, but not just yet. Owen Williams. Gloucester's Owen Williams. He has a lot of admirers, many of whom would like to see him fill the number 12 role for Wales, perhaps as a second playmaker. But injury meant he started this term late with his new club Gloucester, and he is still moving up the gears. There are others in front of him at fly half, and it is all a bit congested in midfield too. Wales used him for just 9 minutes as a blood substitute on their summer tour and had previously failed to cap him. It would be a mild surprise if he were to be called this week. Gavin Henson. Gavin Henson looks to spark an attack. What a story it would be if Henson were to be recalled to the setup a few months shy of his 36th birthday. He has been imperious for the Dragons this season, showcasing his sublime passing game, his cannonball kicking out of hand and his sharp game awareness. Many would love to see this old master have one last shot on the biggest stage. It probably won't happen. Gatland has to start planning for the 2019 World Cup, and even Henson's biggest admirers might have doubts about whether their man could be part of that. Bolts from the blue in selection to happen, but don't put their house on this one. Dylan Lewis. Hadley Parkes is brought down by Dylan Lewis of Cardiff Blues. A back injury has meant limited game time for this promising tight head so far in 201,718, allowing Kieran Asarati to enjoy some air time at Cardiff Blues. Lewis did feature against Lyon last week, and so there is a possibility he could claim the third tight head spot behind Samson Lee and Thomas Francis. But the selectors would have undoubtedly wanted to see him play more rugby. Sam Parry. At one stage last season, Parry was the form hooker in Welsh rugby, scoring tries and bringing his immense strength to bear in tight exchanges for the Ospreys. He can reportedly bench press entire gyms, and all that power regularly came through in his performances. The trouble is Wales didn't pick him. And if they didn't use him when he was playing so well, they are unlikely to do so after a spell when he has been on the bench and part of a team who have been searching for form. He did return to something like his best against Saracens, helping the Ospreys win the collisions, but it may not be enough to secure a place. Scott Baldwin. Wales hooker Scott Baldwin was bitten by a lion. Baldwin has been recovering from the hand injury he suffered when being infamously bitten by a lion during the Ospreys' trip to Africa to face the Cheetahs. Gatland will not be so much worried about the hooker's questionable decision to put his hand into a cage and attempt to pet the said animal. But he will be concerned that Wallace World Cup number 2 simply hasn't had much rugby this term. That is no way to head into a series against the best in the world, and so Baldwin is likely to miss out. Ryan Elias hasn't played much rugby this season. Prior to the Champions Cup encounter with Foulon, Canaan's deputy at the Scarlets had banked just 34 minutes of rugby in 5 weeks. He is highly rated, but Warren Gatland doesn't go a bundle on Wales players spending too much time on benches. Owens, Christian Dacey, Scott Baldwin and Elliot D provide the competition at hooker. If Elias gets in, it will because he has credit in the bank from last season. Adam Beard. Over the years, Welsh rugby hasn't brought through too many locks who are 6 feet 8 inches and 250 pounds, so Warren Gatland will be hoping to see Beard emerge at the Ospreys. However, the 21-year-old is still learning his trade and has started just 2 games this season. With Alan Wynne-Jones and Bradley Davies packing down in the engine room in recent weeks. Beard did start against Saracens and had a strong game, but Gatland is likely to see him as one for the future. Ollie Cracknell spins it wide against the Cheetahs. Image Hugh Evans agency. When Cracknell has played for the Ospreys, he returns stats that come close to going off the graph. His 25 carries up in Glasgow earlier in the season, for instance. Who puts in 25 carries in one game? It was truly an eye-opening effort. But Wales didn't use Cracknell at all during last term's Six Nations, even though he was part of their squad, and he didn't tour in the summer. Dan Lydiate has also reasserted himself at the Ospreys in recent weeks. Lydiate and Aaron Shingler are likely to cover the blindside role this autumn, meaning Cracknell may have to bide his time. And here's another one who could be sweating over his place. Rhys Webb. The Ospreys' scrum half spot in the Wales setup this season was already in the balance after the decision to change the rules on national squad selection. After all, Warren Gatland could easily have justified his omission by saying he wanted to start planning for the World Cup, and he didn't see much point picking Webb as the player would ineligible for the global tournament. But Webb's decision to speak out on the matter has made his position even more precarious. Gatland tends not to do dissent within the ranks, and Webb branding his imminent exclusion a joke isn't exactly what the New Zealander would have wanted to hear. So it's going to be a tight call. But it wouldn't be a surprise were Webb left out on Tuesday.